All right, guys, this is our part 2 of our notes on operations with functions. Okay, we added f of x plus g of x. We subtracted, we multiplied the functions together, we divided them. All right, we did some practice problems below here. All right, hopefully you were able to follow along. Again, I don't think this concept is anything above our heads. We've done similar concepts to this, right, but we've never used the names of the functions to multiply together, to add together. We've done similar things actually with this when we did systems of equations, right? We did name them similarly to this, right? But it's a little bit different. So hopefully you understood the notes thus far. All right, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Still part of these notes. All right, so if you look at this, right, we have f of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 12, and then g of x is x plus 7. Okay, so look at what this problem's asking. Okay, it's saying f of x plus g of x when x equals negative 2. So here's what we're going to do, okay? For this equation here, for this problem here, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to, wherever, normally we'd see x here. If you look back at the problems back here, right, there's an x there, right? Everybody sees that? Right, there's x for every single one of these. But now for these, our new ones, we have numbers there, all right? It just means plug that number in for x for each function, figure out what that number is, and then we're going to add those numbers together here. For the next one, we would subtract those numbers together. For this one, we'd multiply, and for this one, we would divide, right? So let's go ahead and do that, all right? F of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 12, and g of x is x plus 7. Wherever we see x, we're going to plug in negative 2, okay? So here we go. 2 parentheses, and this is for f of negative 2. Let me write that down, right? For f of negative 2. F of negative 2 equals 2 times, and then here's where we plug in our x, close parentheses, squared. Oh, I'm sorry, I put an x in there. It's supposed to be a 2. My mistake. Negative 2. All right, so 2 times negative 2 squared minus parentheses, negative 2, minus 12. When we solve for this, we end up getting, I'm doing all kinds of different colors here. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2, minus 12. Again, negative right here, this just becomes plus 2. Okay, minus 12. And then we add those together, and we end up getting 8 plus 2 minus 12. We get negative 2 there. All right, so f of 2 equals negative 2. Remember that number. Now we have to do g of negative 2. G of negative 2. All right, so it's just simply x plus 7. You see up here at the top, g of x is x plus 7. So g of negative 2 is negative 2 plus 7, which ends up giving us 5. Okay, so there's our answer there and there. Now, what do we need to do with these final numbers? Well, we need to just simply add those together, right? Look up at the top here at the problem, right? It's addition. So once we get the final numbers there, we add those numbers together, all right? So here we go. Let's go ahead and do that. Negative 2, I'll do a different color here. Negative 2 plus 5 ends up equaling 3. And again, I apologize for the lack of space, but that is our final answer here, all right? We plug in this number into each of the functions, solve for the final answer, which should just be a whole number or a fraction, right? Depending upon the equation itself. For these, they should be whole numbers, each of them, all right? And then whatever the operation is in between the two functions, that's what you do to those two numbers, all right? So let's go to the next one here. F minus g, all right? So the function f minus the function g when x equals 8, all right? So here we go. First one, f of 8 equals 2 times negative 8, or sorry, it's a positive 8 squared plus or minus 8. We don't need a parentheses here because it's not negative next to a negative, all right? And then minus 12. Okay? 8 squared is 64. 64 times 2 right here. All right. Next is 128 minus 8 minus 12. All right. We just go ahead and subtract those straight across. 128 minus 8 minus 12 equals 108. All right. So we got our first number there. All right. Next is g of 8. Equals, and that is again x plus 7, so it's just 8 plus 7. And 8 plus 7 gives us 15. All right, so what do we need to do with these two numbers that we finally got? We need to subtract them. Okay, so 108, it's f first, so 108 needs to come first. 108 minus 15, and that ends up equaling 93, which is our final answer. All right, next one we're going to solve for f when x equals -1, solve for g when x equals -1, and then we're going to multiply those two values together, okay? So, f of -1 equals 2 times -1 squared minus -1, put that one in parentheses. All right, and then again, minus 12. All right, when we do this, -1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So we get 2 plus 1 minus 12 once we simplify this. All right, and then we just need to finish it up. And we end up getting 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 minus 12 is -9. All right. G of -1 equals -1 plus 7. Don't necessarily need to put it in parentheses there. You could. It wouldn't make a difference. But we don't need to. All right. And what we get here is 6. So we have -9 times 6. And that gives us a -54 as our final answer. And last but not least, at least for this part, we're almost done though. We have f of 5 over g of 5. All right, so we need to solve for the function of f when x equals 5. All right, so again, what we'll end up getting here is, I'll start this one up at the top. F of 5 equals 2 times 5 squared minus, no parentheses needed here, 5 minus 12. All right. 5 times 2 is 20, or 5 squared, excuse me. 5 squared is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. So we have 50 minus 5 minus 12. All right. When we do this, 50 minus 5, we get 45. 45 minus 12 gives us 33. All right, so there's the function of f when x equals 5. Now we just need to do that with g. All right, g of 5 equals 5 plus 7. All right, 5 plus 7 equals 12. All right, so we need to divide them. Okay, we need to divide them. F of 5 equals 33, so that's at the top. So 33 over 12. Now the question is, can this be simplified? All right. 3 goes into each of those. All right, 3 goes into 33 11 times. And 3 goes into 12 4 times. So our final answer here is 11 over 4. Okay, so plug the numbers into each of the functions, and then once you figure out what those numbers are, do the operation that is happening. Make sure you have it in the correct order, because order does matter there, right? So notice we had the F at the top there, 33, and G, our answer for G, 12 at the bottom, right? Just as the problem dictated, all right? So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. All right, last part here of what we're doing. Another method to combine functions is called a composition. All right, given f of x and g of x, the composite function f of g of x is defined as, all right, so we're going to write this down here. If we see this, where you have this, let me make sure I have not the eraser on. You see that little circle there, right? It stands for of, right? So f of g of x, all right? Now, what does that mean exactly? We're going to write that here. F of g, that's not times, all right? I know it kind of looks like it, apologize, equals, it's the same as seeing this, f of g of x. Well, holy smokes, what exactly does that mean? All right. So for number 11, what this means is we look at the function of f, right, which is right here, x cubed plus 8. All right, so we have f, but it's f of g of x. So what that means is g of x, which is x minus 1, wherever we see x in f of x, we're going to plug g in there. So again, look at this. We're looking at the f right there, right? The function of f, which is right here, all right? That's the function that comes first. And so it says the function of g of x, right? And I know that's very confusing, but look, I'm going to try to put it in simple terms for you, okay? We look at the first function that's given to us, f, okay? So I'm going over here, I'm looking at it. It's x cubed plus 8, right? And it says of g. So what we need to do is plug whatever g of x is into x of the function f, okay? So let's do that right now, all right? So parentheses, let me get rid of all this nastiness. Again, I'm just plugging in g of x into f of x, all right? So here we go. X minus 1, and then we plug that in. That was for x right here. So now it's cubed plus 8, all right? And what this would end up being, and I'm not going to write all of this out. We've done this before, all right? Remember, we can't distribute this, right? It's not how it works for this. So what we would need to do is x minus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 1 plus 8. Again, if you want to work on these types of problems, you can go back into the notes from before we left for break. And we have plenty of problems like this, all right? Once you simplify it, all right, remember you have to do FOIL, right? First, outer, inner, last, etc., right? The final answer that you would get here when you simplify it, we just need to simplify as much as we possibly can. We would end up getting x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 7. Okay, that's our final answer. So again, we're just plugging in g for f of x. We're plugging in g of x. Okay, which is why this is right here. All right, and then we just need to simplify it as much as we can. Again, I didn't do all the math there just to save some time. This is stuff we've already done in the past. All right, so for number 12, all right, first function that's given to us is h. All right, so we're looking at this function right here above it. All right, 5x minus 3. All right, so wherever we see x, we're going to plug in x minus 1, which is g of x over here. Okay, erase all the funkiness. All right, so again, h of x is 5x minus 3, so this will be 5 times. Now, instead of being x, we're plugging in g of x, so it's going to be x minus 1. This is getting plugged in right there. Okay, again, g and h. H is what we're using as our base, and then we're plugging g into h of x, all right, wherever we see x. So 5 times x minus 1, and then minus 3. Okay, we need to distribute the 5 to simplify this. We end up getting 5x minus 5 minus 3, which then, of course, when we simplify it just a little bit further, we get 5x minus 8, and that is our final answer. We cannot simplify it any further. Okay. Just to shorten this video, I'm going to do number 14, all right, and then I'll do number 15 and 16 to finish this up. Okay. So here we go. For number 14, we're looking at G. All right, so where's G at? G is x minus 1 here. Okay, so again, we're plugging in f, right, which is x cubed plus 8 wherever we see x in G. All right, so here we go. G is x minus 1, so it's right off the bat. Use parentheses. X cubed plus 8 minus, and then close parentheses, and then it's, again, G is just x minus 1, so it's that minus 1. All right. Associative property tells us that we can go ahead and drop the parentheses. Right, it's associative property. Right, so 8 minus 1 is 7, so we're left with x cubed plus 7 as our final answer. And there we go. All right, and 15 and 16. All right, h of 2. So it's g of h of 2. G of h of 2. All right, so what we need to do is find the second value first, and then go ahead and plug that into the first value, right, into the first function. So find the value of h first, right, for when we have a number here. We don't have x here, so we have to approach these a little bit differently. All right, so here we go. H of 2, all right, again, I'm doing this one first for these, all right, so h of 2 equals, well, h is 5x minus 3, so this is 5 times 2 minus 3, so we get 10 minus 3, which is 7. And then we also have to do, so from here, right, it's g of h of 2, right, so it's g of h of 2. So now, because we have 7 here, right, we found what h of 2 was, so it's g of h of 2. Well, what is h of 2? H of 2 is 7, so we are doing g of 7. So for these, what we need to do is now plug in g of 7 to get our final answer. So it's actually not that bad. It's just a little bit weird to the terminology. All right, so it's going to be 7 minus 1. When we plug it in, we can, oh, geez. We can use parentheses if we want. We don't need them necessarily. 7 minus 1 gives us 6 as our final answer, and that is it. All right, so again, what we did for these, all right, we found h of 2 first, right here, okay? Then, whatever that value was, we put that in for this first term here, g. So we found that h of 2 was 7, so then we had to do g of 7, which was 7 minus 1, which gave us 6 as our final answer. All right, and last one here, f of negative 6. All right, so we're doing, again, f first here. All right, I'll use the same colors, same order here. All right, we're doing f first, f of negative 6. So f of negative 6 equals negative 6 cubed plus 8 all right. All right, so negative 6 cubed. All right, negative 6 cubed is a negative 216 plus 8 gives us negative 208. Oh boy, now we got to plug in negative 208 for h, which is our second value here. All right, once we get this number, all right, right here, we got to plug that in for the first into the first function, which is h. All right, so h of negative 208 seems like a huge number. It's okay, guys, you'll be all right. All right, so here we go, plugging in negative 208. So h, all right, what is that function? It's, you can look up at the top here. We're using the same function to the top. 5x minus 3. So wherever we see x, we're plugging in negative 208. So this is 5 times negative 208 minus 3. All right. 5 times negative 208 gives us a negative 1,040 minus 3 more. ends up giving us a value of negative 1,043. And that's our final answer, and we're all done. All right, guys, I will post this and the homework assignment. Do your best on it. I will be going over corrections. Make sure you have everything before this assignment up to date and plugged in. I am going to be putting things into portals here over the next couple of days just to get the gradebooks updated and make sure that we have everything on track. So keep up the good work, fellas. Miss you guys, and I will talk to you soon. See ya.